Welcome to the Bromley Adult Education College Digital Drop-In Podcast, getting you back to work with confidence.
Hello, I'm Jill Collier and welcome to episode 31 of the Digital Drop-In Podcast. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Darren Kirwin, who actually works for the Bromley Adult Education, and he is head of Bromley Adult Education, Interim. So hello Darren.
Hi Jill.
Thank you very much for giving up your time today, I really appreciate it. I think what I would like to do is, you're reasonably new to the college, and we're very excited that you have chosen to join us, but you're in a very senior position now, and it's sometimes interesting to find out how people have got from maybe their thoughts when they were at school and what they were going to do to how now you are a god.
Well,
nearly.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I'd never refer to myself as that, but thank you.
So what happened, Darren? You were at school. Did you enjoy secondary school?
Yeah. Well, first let me say thank you for having me on the podcast.
Well,
it's a really lovely thing that you do, and it's so essential, I think, that we have, staff like you who are just going that extra mile and putting things like this podcast together. I just think it's really invaluable. So thank you for having me today. And if you want me to come back again and again and again,
right.
I do like to talk, so I'm more than happy to do that. But my background, interestingly enough, I was that child in school in primary school when all the mums were taking their children to the school. My mum was the mum who had to literally drag me into school. So I didn't want to go to school, I didn't like it, and literally my mum would drag me into primary school and by the hand and pass my hand over to the teacher at the door, and the teacher would drag me in. And I just didn't like school at all. But then as I got into senior school, I just started to kind of find more people in the school that I identified with. So school became like a positive experience for me.
And subject-wise?
So I was just doing general GCSEs, and interestingly enough, I ended up as being trained as a textile designer, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. But I didn't do any art subjects at school. When I was at school in the 80s, they were trying to look for skills and courses and qualifications that led to employment, and art wasn't really seen as one of those. Or the school were kind of, if you're good at physics, do physics. If you're good at maths, do maths. If you're good at languages, do French and German. And art was just a kind of an extra. Right. But I didn't end up doing art, but was also creative in my own time. Anyway, I left school and went on to work in a bank. Actually, I passed my O-levels at the time, went on to work in a bank. And I worked in a bank just at Barclays branch for 5-6 years, and after a while I thought, there's probably more to life. I want to kind of go to university, and I'd seen some of my other friends in school go on to sixth form and then go on to university, and they were all having a great time. So I actually returned to local college on a career break from Barclays Bank for 2 years, and went and did a Fashion Textiles course at a local art college, and absolutely loved it. And considering I hadn't done any previous creative art GCSEs at school, I really fell into this and enjoyed it tremendously, and then applied to university and got into Birmingham University to do a textiles and fashion programme for 3 years, which was wonderful.
And can I just ask, with your accent, was this moving away from home to go to Birmingham University, or are you still living at home?
No, I left Liverpool.
Oh, Liverpool.
I left Liverpool and went to Birmingham.
Right.
And it was interesting because I actually applied to Brighton. It was my first choice, and I didn't get into Brighton. They put me on a reserve list, and I was devastated because I'd worked so hard, and my second choice was Birmingham. And then 6 weeks after being in Birmingham, Brighton contacted me and said, we've got a place, would you like to come? But I was just so settled by that time, even though it was only 6 weeks in Birmingham, that I was just quite happy to stay there. And it was the best decision I think I ever did. And I think sometimes, I learned a lesson from that if things don't necessarily go your way, the way you expect them or want them, sometimes the alternative is often better.
Absolutely.
And it was in this case. So I was at Birmingham for 3 years, and then while I was at Birmingham, there was like a national competition run by the Royal Society of Arts that all the design students, whether you're a textiles student, fashion student, architecture student, ceramics, glass, fine art student, they have lots of briefs set by the Royal Society of Arts. It's an annual kind of competition, and you can answer one of those briefs using your own discipline. And I entered it as our university, all of our final year students did at the university, and was lucky enough to be shortlisted and ended up getting an award from the Royal Society of Arts. And as part of that, I was really fortunate. The Royal College of Art were on the panel, and they invited me for an interview to do a master's over there. So I ended up going to do a master's over there. And, you know, and the reason I'm telling you this long-winded story is I'm a boy from Liverpool who never did any GCSE or any in arts, and then, you know, a couple of years later, well, many years later, here I am being invited by the Royal College of Art to come and do an MA with them, and they were going to fund it.
How fantastic. And that is, I think, the key, the things that our listeners like to hear is how, you know, from reasonably humble beginnings,
yeah, absolutely.
Here you are now in such an advantageous position.
Yeah. And I really do come from a background with humble beginnings. You know, I don't come from an affluent family. I come from Liverpool. It's quite, you know, I went to a regular comprehensive school, kind of rough around the edges. So I didn't have a privileged life, but, you know, I've always been, and subsequently I'm still passionate about education and what that brings, lifelong learning. You know, that term that's been bantered around for so many years, but is so important.
It really is,
you know,
yeah.
It really, really is. You can, you know, learn and change direction at any point with education. It's such a wonderful gift that we've got.
Education is almost power, isn't it? Because once you've learnt something, that gives you the power to then be able to apply it in totally different streams that you otherwise wouldn't have had the option for.
No,
so you've moved from being in a bank, which is quite a standard thing when you leave school, isn't it? If you don't quite know what you want to do, it's a good solid job.
Yeah, it was a good solid job. It was funny because I remember after my first or second month's pay, and you know, I was literally 16, 17 years old, I had nothing to spend it on. So I was just getting paid this money and was looking at all this money thinking, what do I do with it? What do I spend it on? I'd never had so much money before. Oh yeah, I quickly learned how to spend it.
But then, so you then obviously went without a salary while you were, or a main salary while you were at university and doing your masters.
That was interesting actually, because, and I see the students now doing something similar that I was doing, you know, when I was a 20-something-year-old, and that was doing a full-time education course, but then also working on the side. And because I had that banking experience, I was really fortunate that I could do part-time work, and I ended up doing part-time work in, I think it was NatWest or TSB, out of hours in call centres, etc., etc. But that allowed me to, you know, help fund myself through university. Yeah. So, and we didn't have student loans or anything like that at the time. So yeah, I was working probably about 24 hours a week, but then also attending, you know, university and then doing my MA the same. And I see, you know, my nieces and nephews now doing the same because things are so expensive.
Yes.
It's so difficult. You know, we talk about the privilege of education, but, you know, a lot of people have to really work hard to access that privilege.
They do.
And yeah, I understand how that is. And I see my nieces and nephews who've got like jobs that are kind of quite demanding as well as their studies.
Yes.
But I think at the end of it, the outcomes, you know, what they can go on to, increasing their life chances, improving their levels of pay, improving their employability, you know, they're the things that I think when you work hard for them as a younger person, they're the benefits that you reap.
Absolutely, and things have changed a lot, and the degrees are changing a lot. But even my daughter's only reasonably recently left school, and they always said to her, we're training you for jobs that don't exist yet.
Yeah.
And that was what was installed into her in school,
yeah.
You know, because jobs move on all the time.
Absolutely, that's really interesting. And I think now, you know, we were just talking earlier about AI and the power of AI and how there's so many new jobs that are going to be created now, not just with the power of AI, but technology generally.
It's insane. Yeah.
And we can all remember the time before they had like social media commentators or influencers.
Yes.
That's not so long ago. There was no such thing, and now that people are making livings from being an influencer.
Yes.
Or social media commentators. So there's new jobs being out there. We've just got to make sure that we're giving our students through the educational system, I think, the opportunity to diverse and build as many skills as they can to prepare them for those jobs that we don't even know exist.
Yes, exactly.
And I think there's a big movement, isn't there, at the moment on, well, it's not new, but there's a bigger focus on skills development, develop people's skills so they can gain employability and improve their life chances. But I think it's not just about hard technical skills, the skills of being an architect, or the skills of being an electrician, or the skills of being a hairdresser. I think as important is those softer skills as well, those skills of communication, those skills of teamwork, those skills of cooperation, those skills of lateral thinking, those skills of creativity. All of those skills are, I think, as vital as all of those formal technical skills.
Yeah. You need all of that, don't you, to interact in a company and in any sort of job.
You do.
You need all of those skills.
And I think as we're talking about the future and things that, jobs that we don't even know exist yet, all of those skills could be the more prevalent skills that they need than the technical skills. So I think we have a commitment to give I think here a balance to our students, not just about the skill of the program or the course that they're doing, but also those wider skills that
That's
really,
very,
really
very
important.
valid.
Yeah.
So a hop, skip and a jump then. So you finally had your Masters in Arts. Did you actually then work in that?
I did, yeah. So I went to work at Laura Ashley and Habitat as a junior designer. And
you didn't close them down, did you?
No, but they did close down. And I really enjoyed working there. It was a fantastic experience and opportunities, but due to some life circumstances, I actually left London where I was working and having a great time, had jobs and I'd done my MA and I was living in London, living the life. But then I relocated back up to Liverpool for some family circumstances.
Oh, right.
My mum was ill with cancer, so I went back up to look after her. And while I was there, I was pushing my mum in the wheelchair and we passed the college that I'd gone to, and I just thought, I'll pop in and see the lecturers, the old tutors that used to teach me in there. So I pushed my mum in the wheelchair into the college, and there's still all the old tutors who taught me.
There.
They were still there, they still taught me. It was, probably 10 years later, and they all said, what are you doing? We thought you were at the Royal College of Art. And I said, I was, and I was working, but now I've left and I'm back in Liverpool. And they said, you couldn't cover a class tomorrow, could you, for 2 hours? And I was like, of course. And then 6 years later, I was running the department and was head of the department.
That one popping in with your mother actually changed your life, didn't it?
It did change my life.
It was a sliding doors moment.
It was a sliding doors moment. And it was because literally as soon as I was in there with the students, when all of a sudden things click into place and you think, this is what I should be doing. This is where my skill set lies. It's about supporting and helping others to improve, their life chances through education. And I just fell into teaching and absolutely loved it from the word go. Just to be able to have some skills of my own, have some work experience of my own that I could then pass on to other students, just was so satisfying to me. And then further on along the line, to see them students pass their qualification and then move on, and then for them to go to jobs and get good jobs and be happy. Such an amazing feeling, I think, to be educational.
And you are preaching to the converted. That's what I always say. It's a very fulfilling, it's almost like a mother hen role, as in you watch your little chicks sort of grow under your guidance, and then suddenly they're fledglings and they're gone. Yeah,
and it's fantastic. And it's so lovely when they return and say, hey, remember me? You taught me 10 years ago and this is what I'm doing now. And it's really fantastic.
So you presumably would have had to have then taken more qualifications or specialised, your PGCE or something.
Yeah, so
continue.
That's correct, because I had no formal teaching qualifications, and I was only teaching on like a hourly contract. They were just saying, come in and just teach 2 hours here, 2 hours there, 2 hours here. So yeah, I think
that probably worked. If your mother was unwell, it actually kind of
it was perfect.
Worked both ways.
It was perfect for the circumstances, because that allowed me a little bit of flexibility. So I understand now how, you know, the staff here at BAEC, they're often dual professionals. They do a couple of hours teaching, but then they have other careers that they focus on, which is so enriching, I think, to them as a teacher. But then also it gives them freedom to do other things in their life. And I just think, you know, what's the term now when they say someone has multi-careers? It'll come back to me.
I'm not sure.
Because,
I think sometimes it can be careers that are linked, and especially if you're teaching a skill in this college, I think to actually be going out and doing that skill is extremely important, you know, to be practicing yourself what you're doing. Then other times it feeds different parts of our soul, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
To do totally different jobs.
It does.
That you can, you know, different parts of your life kind of, it's just a different part, and you can enjoy it.
And like you say, that feeds different parts of your life. And we've talked about those softer skills. So, you know, our staff may be developing skills in other areas that their teaching career is maybe not providing them as much, and then they bring that into their teaching, so our students therefore benefit.
Yes.
So yeah, for me, you know, I was kind of an hourly paid teacher, just picking up hours here and there, and then as my mum got better and I could commit more hours, I was looking for more hours, looking for contracts, teaching contracts, to see what was out there. I did teaching during my PGCE, doing Learn Direct.
Yes.
And it was so lovely. I used to work through the summer, and it was in almost like a caravan that we had parked in the college car park. It wasn't even a real classroom, and I used to teach like Silver Surfer courses. They, you know, a long.
I've taught that on the buses. Yes.
Oh yeah, on the buses. Yeah.
Yes.
And I loved it. It was a really great, again, different than teaching the 16 to 19-year-olds. You know, because they were the older generation that we were teaching them, you know, how to use a computer, how to use a mouse, how to create a file and a document, etc. And that was super rewarding. So, you know, I was doing all of that while doing my teaching qualification, and then eventually, you know, a part-time role came up, which I applied and got, and then a full-time role, and then I worked as a curriculum leader, and then I managed the art department. So by 6 years later,
and it was still art-led at this point. Then you were still overseeing art.
It was all art.
Yes.
It was all art. Yeah, art departments, and I loved that. And then after that, after doing that for a couple of years within the same college, I moved into the quality department.
Right.
So out of curriculum and into quality, and that was interesting because that was a cross-college role. So that was working with like the observation team, looking at the self-assessment report, managing the self-assessment and course review process. I managed equality and diversity under that role as well, but that gave me more an understanding of the mechanisms of a college,
of the business,
right
and how
across
it's
the
run,
board.
and
Yeah. And then from there, after doing that for a couple of years, I moved to another college as their head of quality, and then director of quality, and then I moved as a VP.
Are you still in Liverpool at this point? Or have you
this
moved?
was Liverpool and Manchester.
Yes.
I moved over to Manchester to do these roles as head of quality and director of quality, and then I came back to London and moved into like a VP, vice principal curriculum role. And it was curriculum and quality that I was overseeing in a college, and the reason I'm telling you this is that, you know, I was moving between managing curriculums and then managing quality, and then managing curriculums and managing quality, which gave me a really rounded view of, you know, working with the teachers under the curriculum, but then working under the support staff, managing, you know, quality areas such as student services or administration or English and maths departments. So it gave me a really great rounded view of, you know, the college and working in both kind of
so you can always see it from both sides, can't you? You can
right.
see it from the, you know, from the teaching side as well as from running it as a business.
That's
and
right.
and would that touch on the funding or not? It's just literally quality.
No, as a VP we had responsibility for funding and managing funding and budgets, etc. for the college. Obviously it was the principal's ultimate responsibility.
So you've gathered a huge wealth then of information between all of these roles.
Yeah, I've been really fortunate, I think, you know, to be able to have these kind of experiences and opportunities. And then from that role I went to the Education and Training Foundation, and they are like a training organisation that train the teachers, and they have a lot of contracts with the Department for Education, and that opportunity there as their National Head of Quality gave me the opportunity to, one, work with the Department for Education, the DFE,
yes,
in setting up training programmes for not just teachers but anybody who works in the 16 or 19 provision, so any administrative or supportive staff, and we were able to develop programmes for them. And the programmes that we would develop would be programmes to improve teaching and learning. We would have programmes to improve excellence in maths or English. We would have programmes under SEND, so supporting our learners with needs or disabilities. So a whole array of curriculum offer that we were delivering nationally, and that all providers, if they were teaching or working in a 16 or 19 educational institution, could access. And often they were free because they were funded via the Department for Education.
Right.
And that job was really interesting. It gave me an opportunity to work nationally with over 117 colleges across the country, because my job was National Head of Quality Assurance. So my team were responsible for making sure that the programmes that we were delivering up and down the country to different colleges were of a really good quality and a good standard. So that gave me an opportunity then to work alongside a lot of the people in many different colleges up and down the country. So all of a sudden I was getting a national perspective and an understanding of what was working in colleges, or what colleges were struggling with in any given time, and so that's a fantastic insight. And I think, Ofsted inspectors, they get a similar insight because they do inspections across a range of colleges up and down the country. They quickly get an understanding of the pressures of the colleges, the 16 to 18 provision, or adult learning provision. They get quite a good understanding of where the pressures are, where the pinch points are, what's working well or what's not working well. And I was lucky enough, because I'm not an Ofsted inspector, but I was lucky enough to get that view through the role that I had at the Education and Training Foundation.
So as your jobs are becoming sort of more and more responsible, or coming with more responsibility, I should say, and they've gradually evolved from art and curriculum to now quality, would you say you're very career driven, or has it just been a natural evolution from one position to another? How do you feel as a person you've come from the boy with a few O-levels to now, potentially head of a college?
Yeah, that's a really great question, a really good question. I tend not to think I'm overly focused or driven in career progression, but then my friends will tell you the complete opposite.
Right. No, I'm curious, because obviously I don't know well enough, but you appear to me to be somebody that's very heart driven, as in, if the job feels right and looks right.
It's about the job. It's about, it is very...
But equally, you're taking on huge responsibilities at each one of these jumps that not everybody would be prepared to
you're
try.
all right. I really like that description of being more driven by my heart, and I probably am more driven by my heart. It's not about money. We'll never be rich in education.
No.
That's not why we're in. But we're rich in other ways.
Yes.
For me, it's just about having the opportunity to have different experiences in different types of roles. But really, at the end of it, at the very end of it, it doesn't matter whether I was a teacher teaching 2 hours a week, whether I was working in Learn Direct through the summer in a caravan for 5 hours a week, or whether I was a VP of a college, or whether I was national head of something or other for the Education and Training Foundation. At the end of it, it's all about supporting other people and helping other people with their life chances, and just the opportunity to do that at different levels and influence that at different levels is really what drives me.
Right.
This opportunity to work here as head of Bromley Adult Education, I mean, what a wonderful opportunity. One, because I live in the borough, and I'm also a governor at a local college as a governor, and I've done that for a couple of years. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to give back to the local borough that I lived in, and that was an opportunity to do that. And then I saw this job, and this job was advertised, and I thought, how perfect! I can give back to the local borough in a direct way, really support the adults in the borough to improve their skills and their life chances. What an amazing opportunity to live in the borough and support the borough through your job. So that's why I applied to do this job, and that's why I think, I'm probably more heart driven by the decisions that I make.
But it's clearly backed up with now a huge amount of knowledge, and I'm not sure you can put a price on experience, can you? You can sit in doing all your various qualifications, but it's not until you're actually in that job doing it that you really, really learn, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And I'm a real advocate of making mistakes. And I think I got that from the art background and art teaching that I've done, because, if you're working with watercolours or acrylics or gouache or oil, whatever the medium is, you learn through the mistakes that you make. Your first painting isn't perfect, and you learn and observe and reflect on the mistakes that you've made. So I think for me, I've kind of carried that mantra through the rest of my life, and I find the more mistakes I make, the more I learn.
Well, they always say you learn more from your mistakes than you do from your successes, don't they?
Yeah.
And certainly entrepreneurs will say they've learned more from the companies that have gone down than the companies that have succeeded. So
absolutely. And for me, it's about leading with my heart and working, I think, with the staff that I work with. It's about making sure that they feel supported to try new things, be innovative and make mistakes. We're not rocket scientists, we're not brain surgeons. We work in education, which is extremely important, but I think to try new things and be innovative and be prepared to make mistakes and learn from them, that's that kind of cycle of learning and education, isn't it? That's so important. So I always try to kind of foster that in the teams that I manage and the people that I work with, so that they feel empowered to try new things. Yeah,
that's hugely inspirational. And getting to the point now where you are at the London Borough, and you're working for Bromley Adult Education, what do you see for our learners? Do you, obviously we do a lot of the core subjects like English, math, digital skills. So we're feeding that part of the borough, but we also do the more, so the
well-being type of courses.
Well-being courses.
That's right. It's interesting because we know at the end of the day we're driven by the funding that we receive from the GLA or by the ESFA. They give us our funding and our budgets. And they change the requirements of those budgets, and what I mean by that is they set parameters on how we should spend it, and how it should be checked and driven. And currently there is a move with regards to some of the budgets into adult education, where there's more of a focus on skills and skills development for the people in the borough. The adults in the borough, making sure...
And for employability, would you say?
It's for employability, yes. So therefore, the English and maths courses, the digital courses that we offer, the employability courses that we offer, the ESOL courses that we offer are all so important, because they help our learners make them first steps towards employability. However, we were talking about those additional skills earlier on, and that are so important. And so we also offer, a range of other courses that are skill based, but also I think offer creativity. So we have fantastic upholstery courses, stained glass courses, our art and design courses, which is so essential, I think, in people not only developing skills within art or stained glass or upholstery skills that they can use maybe at their own leisure or start a business, but also gives them those skills of creativity and working together, on projects together.
It ticks so many boxes, doesn't it? It really does. And yes, I totally agree with you that
and the government does recognise that, so they do understand.
Are they funded at all? The arts?
They are, yeah. So they do.
Courses.
Still, some of the funding that we get is still to support, our well-being, and it contributes to the well-being of people in the borough, because we realise that a lot of our students may be past the age of working. They may be retired. So it's fine building employability skills, but they may never return back to employability. Therefore, we can develop other type of skills in those to enrich their life and enrich their well-being, and to have people in the community who feel enriched and feel like they've got well-being. That's as priceless as giving people the skills to go and get their first job.
It so is, and I'm just thinking about the fact that it actually broadens their friendship groups. The amount of times we teach courses here, and by the time that course finishes, there's real friendships that have been made, and friends for life in a lot of cases.
That's
and
right.
it just brings a new kind of level into some people's lives, and they learn a skill that they didn't think they actually knew they could do. So
Absolutely.
It does cover so much, doesn't it?
And also, we may have people who, especially at this college, it's such a welcoming environment to be in, and I think we're like a little jewel hidden away, because we have a fantastic number of learners, but I sometimes, I look and think, do people know we exist? The way we're hidden away, but we're such a little jewel hidden away. And I think when people do discover BAEC, and they come here, they do make those friendship groups, they do learn new skills, they do realise new opportunities. But also, I think that we might impact somebody who hasn't left the house for a couple of years.
Definitely,
who, because we're a small local college, they may feel like, oh, okay, I could give that a go. And just those first steps back into public classes can be such a huge step for some people.
It can be absolutely daunting. Even just finding the place, getting parked up, or getting the right bus, all of those things are daunting that first day.
And if we can support people to come out of their houses and do a course and forge those friendships that could become lifelong friendships, and that might help them, gain some employment or set up their own business or whatever it is.
Just give them the courage.
Make products and
Absolutely.
sell products.
Yes.
I was chatting to, it was one of the art students recently, and she's a retired lady, and she was enjoying the course. She's been here a couple of years, and I was asking her about what new skills has she learned this year, and she was saying she's developed new media skills. And then she pulled out a pack of cards that she'd had printed, and they were like postcards or greetings cards. So she'd made her own work into greeting cards and was selling them.
Wow.
How wonderful is that? She was sending them to her friends and family. But
very resourceful as well.
Very resourceful. She turned that skill, those new skills in art, into something that you could commercially make some money from.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful. And whether she makes £10 or £100, it doesn't really matter.
No.
She's learned a new skill. She's come here. She's had that opportunity, and we've enriched her life. And
Absolutely.
That's really important. That ticks all my boxes.
It does. Well, that's absolutely phenomenal. Yes. I think. I hope from people listening to this, this is twofold. It's one, giving us a greater understanding of how, with taking educational opportunities along your career, how it's made you the person you are now, and from where you started to where you are. But also, I think for college, for people to have this understanding that although we tend to think of employability, I think the other side of it and the soft skills are just as important, aren't they? And
absolutely vital.
And I think even people coming to our digital drop-in, of course they come to research for new jobs and enhance their CV. But again, dare I say it, friendship groups are even built in the digital drop-in. They like to come the same time as they know somebody else is going to be there.
Absolutely.
And they build their little friendships. And it can give you courage if you are feeling a little bit out of kiln with life at the moment.
Absolutely. And we're offering other courses. We have a new mobile phone course.
Yes.
And you think, a mobile phone course? What's that all about? But we're teaching the residents, especially our elderly residents, how to use their phone, one, to shop, one, to make appointments, two, to pay for the car park, because the car parks are all automated via an app.
Yes.
So, and I've literally spoke to some of those students, and they've ran down the hallway to tell me, thank you so much for this mobile phone course. It's really built my confidence now. I'm able to make doctor's appointments. I'm able to pay for my car parking on the phone. It's really made, and just those things make a real difference to people's lives.
They so do. They so do.
And we're working with the job centre currently, so we're devising some employability and some digital courses for people who have been referred to us from the local job centre to get them first steps into work.
Perfect.
So all these are just small examples that make our job so satisfying.
Well, I think that's been really interesting, and I'm delighted that you are getting as much enjoyment out of Bromley Adult Education as our students. But it is a fulfilling on both sides, isn't it?
It really is. It really is.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Darren. I've really enjoyed that, and I've learnt a lot, so I really hope our listeners do as well.
Oh, you're very welcome, and thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
For help with all your job searching needs, do visit one of our digital drop-in venues. On a Monday, we are open 12:30 to 3:30 p.m. at our Poveris Centre, and on a Tuesday, we are open 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at our Kentwood Centre. In our sessions, we offer free use of computers for job searching, advice on creating a winning CV, plus lots of short training courses to gain skills in the digital world.
This podcast has been produced by Bromley Adult Education College. For full details of how we can support your return to work, visit our website www.baec.ac.uk and search for Digital Drop-In. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast to receive notifications of new episodes.